Right now we have Per on the background. He's virtual with us, but he is working for the Innovation Capacity Group in Sweden. And he helped us and he's currently involved in implementing the DATPROF solution at Volksam. And he will take us a little bit into how they have evolved in the last couple of months. So Per, if you would love to share your thoughts and ideas, the virtual floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's a pity I can't join you today, but I haven't got a possibility. So this is the second best. So I at least can present what we are doing at Folksam. So I hope you will enjoy that. The agenda will be around what we call a test data management repository. And it's all about preparing everything for masking. So you just lining up your ducks before you do it. And I will talk a bit about that. Just a moment. Let's try to take the next slide. Okay. So a bit about me. As you say, I'm from Innovation Capacity Groups. I've been working with test data management for the last 20 years. And now I ended up at Folksam, who bought in DATPROF as a perfect solution for what they are trying to do. And Folksam, it's one of Sweden's largest insurance companies. It's about 4 million customers. It has about half of the house insurance and a fifth of all car insurance in Sweden. So it's quite big. And what we got started with is that Folksam has a solution for test data management. They are subsetting already today. And the thing we were going to do is making them more compliant with achieving at first masking with DATPROF and doing that even better. So we have a hybrid solution in place. A lot of the systems are mainframes. So they have this solution built with JCLs and COBOL code, and that doing the subsetting of the data. So we take the subset, move it over to DB2 on Linux, and there where we mask it with DATPROF. So it's a mix. It's SQL Server, DB2 for LOV, and mainframe, and also other database management systems coming up later on. So our challenge here is, one of the biggest is regarding Swedish social security numbers and organization numbers. The thing here is that you just can't, they have some requirements regarding how it should be masked, like it shouldn't be an already existing customer social security number that will be the masked one, etc., etc. You can have blacklists numbers and so on. So that's one of the challenges to making this work. And also the social security numbers, you can't just randomly generate them. You need to follow an algorithm, a Loon algorithm and so on, to get it right. And it's almost the same for the organization numbers. That's like a social security number for the organizations in Sweden. Another issue, as you all know about, is like data quality. And it's not always that good in production. So to be able to handle the different, if you find something you don't expect, you should still don't get surprised by it. So the masking should be robust anyway, even if the data could be a challenge if it looks not what you're expecting. We also have requirements regarding we generate all-time new social security for every, so we don't get a static list of old and new numbers. So every time we mask, we generate new. So one social security number gets another the next time, and not the same all the time you're masking. So that's another thing. And we have like 30 plus systems today that need to be masked in the same way, deterministic, regarding names, addresses, social security numbers, and so on. Everything should be in sync. So that could also be some kind of demanding. Sometimes you have also like addresses you like to keep different addresses to be accurate in different regions with postal code and cities and so on. And then also you need some control regarding the masking and understand why it's done in a certain way, so it's easy to find when you're error detecting or finding some bugs. So a bit of the challenge regarding social security numbers could be, like in this case, it's different formats, as you see. First, you can have without the century, with the century, with a dash. So it's not like one format, it can be in many different ways. We also have different kinds of social security numbers, like fictive or temporary social security number that don't have the format exactly formatted as the real ones. So you also need to handle those out there. So we have like also keeping the date of birth up to date. We can have a list of social security numbers that not are okay to mask to when you're masking. And here we have also the rules of when masking, we're keeping the month. So we have the age, because in insurance, personal insurance, it's really for the, when you calculate them, you need to have a correct, so you can just not randomly get any date. So an 18-year-old need to be 18-year-old after masking and so on. So the TDM repository, as we call it, it's a bunch of the tables, you can say, that keeps track on everything that has to do with masking, subsetting, and generation. So for masking, it's mostly like lookup tables that you're using when you're doing a lookup function, but you're preparing them in advance, and I will come back to that later on. And also it could be like all tables and objects that you handle with DATPROF. And also we have, when we generate these TDM tables, we also use DATPROF for that purpose as well, to generate that data that later on is used for masking and the lookup functions. And when doing in this way, also the TDM repository could be a central repository to use by other tools as well. If you're not using DATPROF in some way on some other systems, they could still get the intelligence of how it should mask regarding this test data repository. So it will be mask deterministic, even if it's not in with the same tool that you are masking. If you're masking with a script or something else, you can use this repository, for that's the single point of truth there. And also it's good that during the masking you collect information for, as I said earlier, regarding finding out if you get some error. Also see why did this happen. If it's just having some random function for masking, you don't understand why it became as it did. But if you prepare everything up front, you can do a lot of testing and seeing that I expect this masking should go fine now, because I have like aligned all the ducks before, and I know what we could expect when running the masking, so it shouldn't be that much of surprise when doing the actual masking. And keeping also the masking functions as simple as possible. So like a lookup function is great, so you're just replacing things. And if you already have put everything in order in this test data management repository, you know what you could expect. And also keeping logging of how masking is done and so on from the DATPROF. When we are running it through runtimes, you get a lot of logs. You perhaps also save those for later. So you collect logging during execution to collect execution times and all of things that. And then afterwards, you can go back, find out how you can, what part you need to speed up and so on. So that also we keep in this repository. So if we look at one typical, this could be an example of an lookup table that we have in the repository. Like we first have a column with the old social security number, and we generate a new one regarding the rules that talked about earlier. It should be the same year, same month, but different date and digits and so on. It contain alternative keys. In some case, you're not having the social security number as a key, so you perhaps have a customer ID or something else that also should be mapped to the social security number, the name, addresses, and so on. So by keeping it in this way, you can see what you expect, and it's really easy to just go on with the lookup functions when implementing it. So it's the process of setting this up, we take in 4 steps. So the first one is to collect all the information from different systems that have like the social security numbers and names that we need to have in sync. And then we generate those lookup tables. We complete them and add more information that's needed, like alternative keys and so on. And then we provision them out to different systems or platforms that will use them later on. So if we see to the collection part, it's also a data-driven approach where we have other tables in our repository saying that in this table, in this column, with this format, I want to pick a social security number. Like in this case, the first row, you can see it's a 12 length. And we also have like a special condition, like saying that if column 2 has the value of 4, then it's a social security number. Otherwise, it could be anything else. So this is also a bit of a tricky thing that you can see that data models, you can have columns with different values or different types of information in them, but you need to understand when it's that information that I want to get here. And at Folksam, we are using Federation Server to create nicknames to access different, because this repository is hosted on a DB2 on Linux, but we are getting information from both ZOS, DB2 on ZOS and on SQL Server. So by using nicknames, we can still run SQL scripts from in the DB2 on Linux and access data in SQL Server and DB2 on mainframe. So this is the first step by collecting all the information, all the things we need to create the lookup tables. And the next step then, it's the generation part, when we create new social security numbers following the rules and so on. But here also we find out the data quality issues that I talked about. So we collect them in something we call renegades, where we find that, no, it looks like a social security number. So in this case, at the bottom of the screen, you can see like a date, and then you have an SSN origin column that has a format. And if you look at it, it's like 1987, and then it's 2 zeros, and that should be a month, and that's not a valid month. So this is a corrupt social security number. And also we collect, where does this come from? So we can afterwards, getting a list out of this, contact the system in case here, and saying them, hey, we get not valid social security numbers here. Perhaps there's something wrong in production, something you should look at. And then they could correct it, and then after a while you get it better and better. So it's like a byproduct from the whole masking job that we are performing. So the next step, when we are generating these first step of the lookup tables, we get that, and then with the help of DATPROF Privacy, we create the lookup tables. So we take information from one, say that we have a table with 10 columns. We fill them with the first 2 here, the SSN old and SSN new. And then we should add some names, addresses, date of birth, and so on that you need for later when you are doing the masking. And then you can both use the privacy, the masking, or you can generate it from there as well. So just what works best. So we are doing some data masking on this and just adding from a seed file valid names are coming from the standard functions from DATPROF, of course, and addresses we have generated like 1 million valid addresses with cities and postal codes that we can randomly add to these persons. Okay. So the completion, that's a bit of what I talked earlier. It's like pimping up the lookup tables and doing these additional names and addresses. But also when we take these and moves to other systems or platforms, we can also have these lookup tables and add extra columns to them depending on the keys these systems are using. So if you don't have the keys in these lookup tables that are needed, they have like a special address ID in some other system that's needed to connect. Then you can add this information with SQL statements and so on, and just update the lookup tables with this additional information, so you can use this with the standard lookup functions that's available from DATPROF. So, and that's a bit of this, that we take the copy of the original lookup table that we have created centrally, distribute it out to the other systems, alter the DB and the complementary key. So I was talked about it in a step before, but this is the provisioning step, if you say so. So that's pretty much how we work with this. I assume that many other also have a similar, but we are trying to have it as data driven, the whole approach as possible, not just using standard functionality, because it's in the tool as well, as you know, to get masked in the same way. But when having this additional rules that need to be followed, like you need to mask a social security number within the same month and so on, and only generate a different set of social security number that not collide with something in a blacklist and so on, then it gets quite complicated. And we see that this is a good way forward to make it working. So this is going quite fast, but we have more time for the Q&A perhaps afterwards. So the summary for this is like getting control is the whole thing. So you don't get any surprises when you do the masking. You should already know what you can expect, because you can see and do validation tests before running the actual masking and see, yep, everything is up to date. We have a lookup table matching all the rules that we will mask, perfect, and so on. So you're quite confident when starting masking. So it's not like a black hole just throwing you out there and see what's happening. So you can get higher precision is in your masking work. And also the thing about the advanced rules, are you into that? This is absolutely a way I would recommend, because you can do almost anything. So the advanced rule, when we generated new social security numbers, we just have built a quite complex DB2 procedure that handles that work, and we can have alternative scripts and so on for setting this up. And also the thing about sharing with other, if you have a setup with different masking solutions, like if a system have scripts for masking, they can still use this information when they mask their data to just get access to the lookup tables. And logging, of everything to get more insight and get more intelligence of what's actually happening, both in performance and different errors you run into or information you get from the tool during execution. One part we don't talk about here, but when we are starting to work, we have started with masking, but we are going to subsetting later on. Then all the subset instructions will also be in tables in this repository. And then we have like a table, a driving table that we can populate. We can what we call keying, getting all the different keys needed to do a subset. We can also do that and prepare everything. So we know that if we take subset A on system B, we use one type of key. And if we take subset A on system C, we take another key set just for that masking. And it's also prepared in advance before doing the actual subset. So you know what you expect when you go there. One good thing also for people outside that just seeing what have we actually done. So generating report, the repository also very good. So you can like, DATPROF has its own reports, but you can also, if you want it on another format or if you want to aggregate them in another way, you just get them from the DATPROF reports, import them into the TDM repository, and there you can aggregate or you can pull them out in a different tool if you have like a BI tool or something to get a nice report regarding what have we actually masked and how. So that's good for every party outside this. So that's pretty much it, I think.